Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com with Mildred. Mildred, who does not like to be picked up, but she wants to play fetch. So we have a deal. If she helps me do these introductions, we get to play fetch together. And you did, right? You were a good girl, so let me put you down. Here you go. You can go right over here. And here is the object of fetchedness. Go get it. Come here. Happiness. So here we are with If I Could Choose Only One Recording by Artist X, or album, it would have to be Y, composer Y, recording Y, whatever it is. Well, let's see. Who is X? Artist X is Thomas BEECHAM, the great British conductor, and we know what album Y has to be. It has to be his Delius. Absolutely. BEECHAM does Delius in this lovely 7-CD box. I get to pick all of it and give it to the evil god Cancrozans, who, as we all know, is going to destroy all of classical music, but for one work or one album per artist, one work per composer or one album per artist. This is a way to get around that a little bit because Cancrozans is weakening. We have been absolutely inundating him with fabulous music, and he has been starting to wonder whether or not he should actually deprive us of the opportunity to hear so much great stuff that he hasn't had an opportunity to hear yet, and we haven't either. So yeah, BEECHAM's Delius, it's a no-brainer, and it's something that really is one of the most wonderful stories in all of classical music, and it deserves to be told, because Delius is a very, very distinctive composer. You know, he's a British composer. He spent most of his life living in France. He was the son of a wealthy industrialist slash business person. His family had property holdings in Florida, where he worked in their orange groves in Florida and absorbed a lot of the African-American music of the period. His style is so personal and so unlike anybody else. It's mostly very dreamy, very soft-edged, extremely nature-influenced. He was a sort of a Nietzschean. He caught syphilis in Florida. He went blind. He had an amanuensis, an assistant, Eric Fenby, to whom he dictated his last works. He was really a sort of hermetically sealed kind of guy, stylistically. His musical language is late Wagner chromatic, sort of. Fluid, almost rhythmless, but he used very large orchestras and wrote extraordinary pieces that don't fit any known pattern. Yes, he wrote some concertos, but they're not in normal concerto form. He wrote no symphonies. He wrote a few chamber works and sonatas, but none of it relates to more or less traditional forms as we know them. Most of his works are orchestral, or his famous works are orchestral, and they're all tone poems of one kind or another. You know, On Hearing the First Cuckoo in Spring, Summer Night on the River, North Country Sketches. We'll get to them. We'll get to them here. Really an extraordinary guy. And in Thomas BEECHAM, he had an advocate like no other. I mean, one of the wonderful things a great conductor can do is find a composer and boost them. Most conductors do it. Most conductors have composers who they like to champion or like to work with, but not often living composers. And sort of what that whole system kind of went wrong in the late 20th century because the living composers were all writing, atonal gobbledygook, and to get behind them wasn't something that was going to either promote the conductor's career or sell records or do anything, unlike BEECHAM's Delius, which I'm not sure it sold millions of copies, but the music is certainly listenable. He put that composer on the map. I mean, more recently, we had Colin Davis advocating for Tippett. That was a wonderful act of musical of charity, I say. I mean, Tippett was getting eclipsed by Benjamin Britten, and it was really fine that there were some people who would stand up for him as well, because his music is terrific. A lot of it is terrific anyway. But you have to have a composer who wrote things that people want to hear, who aren't getting much attention, and a conductor who's willing to do something. And BEECHAM did more than just play Delius. He edited the scores for publication. He was almost a co-composer in some of this stuff. He really was. So it was an extraordinary symbiotic relationship. Just amazing and remarkable. And this is the one of its manifestations. There's a whole other series of Delius recordings on Columbia, Sony, which need badly to be remastered carefully and issued. We need a BEECHAM box. I mean, come on, Sony. If you could do a Metropolis box, you can do a BEECHAM box. You really can. Anyway, let's see what's in this. What we get is, let's see, Over the Hills and Far, Disc 1, Over the Hills and Far Away, The Sleigh Ride, Brig Fair, one of his most famous tone poems, an absolutely gorgeous piece, The Florida Suite, and The March Caprice. The Florida Suite is incredibly beautiful. It's an early work that BEECHAM rediscovered, basically, edited and performed, and now it's been recorded multiple times. It entered the canon, thanks to BEECHAM. Then the Dance Rhapsody No. 2, Summer Evening, On Hearing the First Cuckoo in Spring, Summer Night on the River, and A Song Before Sunrise, the Fenimore and Gerda Intermezzo, Ermelyn Prelude, and the Songs of Sunset. Disc 3, Dance Rhapsody No. 1, the Violin Concerto, which is Delius's best-known concerto. It's a fluid, beautiful, endless stream of melody. That's about all it is. It's quite lovely. The Piano Concerto, which nobody knows, and On the Heights, Pa Viderda, and A Mass of Life, the prelude to Part 2. The complete Mass of Life was recorded for Columbia, Sony now. Then we've got the opera, A Village Romeo and Juliet, which is Delius's best-known opera. He wrote a whole bunch of operas. I mean, operas in which absolutely nothing happens, and full of lovely, lovely music. And then Seadrift in a Summer Garden. Seadrift is his most famous choral work. And then we've got, let's see, excerpts from Hassan, incidental music, Coanga, the opera from whence came one of his other famous little dance pieces, La Calinda, which originally appeared in the Florida Suite, then it's a separate piece, then it was in Coanga, or then it was in Coanga, and he made a separate piece. It's, whenever you need something from Delius that's about 6 minutes long, you just haul out La Calinda. Do, 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 do. I played the tambourine part. Chunk, 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 for about 6 minutes. It's lovely. And then Appalachia and Eventyr. Eventyr is wonderful. Eventyr is one of these primal troll and gnome Norway mystic type pieces. It's more like something Bax would have written, actually. Celtic Twilight and all that stuff. Then we get the Song of the High Hills, Paris, the Song of a Great City, a wonderful early tone poem, big and huge and yummy, and then a bunch of songs. So most of these are with the Royal Philharmonic and the London Philharmonic. And like I said, Thomas BEECHAM, the inevitable Delius champion, a wonderful legacy, really a wonderful legacy, and one that the evil god Cancresans is going to have to reckon with before he implements his malign plan to deprive us of everything but one work per composer. I mean, can you really just take one piece by Delius? It's as if he wrote one gigantic, fluid clump of music and then just cut it into different pieces and call them different things. I mean, that's the way his style kind of works. So you can't choose. You can't choose. And BEECHAM is still the most effective guide to his music. After BEECHAM, or along with BEECHAM, is Charles Mackerras, of course, who also did splendid Delius. But anyway, keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.